The 2026 Lexus RZ 500e Sports Luxury is the plushest, most loaded version of Lexus's electric SUV, and it sits right at the very top of the luxury range, which is exactly where it runs into trouble. Because kitted out like this, it climbs deep into premium money. And the electric SUV that outsells almost everything else in the country, the Tesla Model Y, is parked right there beside it, cheaper to buy, and able to drive noticeably further on a single charge. So one quiet thought follows this whole Lexus around. Is all that polish actually worth paying more for? I promise you a straight answer by the end. So subscribe and stick with me, because the way this one shook out honestly caught me off guard. Here's what most people forget about this car. When the RZ first arrived, it was almost a great electric SUV. It looked sharp, it felt beautifully built, and then you check two numbers and the whole thing wobbled. It could not travel far enough between charges, and it could not refill quickly enough when it did. In an electric car, those are the only two numbers that truly matter. So for 2026, Lexus went back and attacked exactly those weaknesses. A bigger battery, more range, faster charging, and a stronger pair of motors on top. On paper, this is the RZ finally sorted. The real question is whether sorted is the same thing as worth it. But we will get to those numbers, because they decide everything. First, just stand in front of it, because this is where the RZ has always had the Tesla beaten. Lexus calls the design a spindle body. In plain English, the old chrome grille is gone, replaced by a smooth closed sculpted nose that tells you there is nothing burning fuel behind it. In this deep gray paint, it looks expensive in a way a Model Y simply does not. The headlights pinch into thin, hard slivers. The roof glides back into a blacked-out, floating rear pillar. The door handles sit flush until you reach for them. And the wheels, big, turbine-style alloys, fill the arches and give the whole thing a low-planted stance. Around the back, a slim light bar runs the full width of the tail, with the word Lexus spelled out where a badge used to sit. Small change. It also makes the old car suddenly look a generation behind. And that matters more than car reviewers like to admit. You walk up to this thing every morning, and you feel something. A Model Y is clever, efficient, brilliantly packaged. This one is desirable. Those are not the same feeling, and only one of them still lands on the drive home, months after the novelty wears off. Then you open the door, and the story gets more interesting. Now, a lot of you told me, under the last Lexus I showed you, that these new cabins have lost their warmth. Too cold, you said. Too minimal. I heard you. So look closely at this one. The seats are wrapped in a soft, pale suede-like material that feels nothing like the scratchy plastics of a mainstream electric SUV. A huge panoramic glass roof pours light into the space and makes the cabin feel far bigger than the RZ looks from outside. Ahead of the driver sits a crisp digital dial, and in the center, a wide touchscreen handles the important jobs without burying them under menus. This top sports luxury trim is where the RZ finally earns its place. Heated and ventilated seats. A Mark Levinson stereo that, to answer a question a few of you asked me directly, really does sound superb. It is calm in here, hushed, like a good library, the kind of quiet only a properly built electric car can manage. This is not a cabin trying to shout at you. It is one trying to lower your shoulders after a long day. And on that one human measure, it works. There is real space here too. The back seat is genuinely comfortable for full-sized adults. And because there is no transmission tunnel, the floor is flat, so the middle passenger is not left with their knees around their ears. Open the boot and it swallows a big weekly shop and all the mess of family life without drama. It is not the roomiest electric SUV in the class, and there is no storage under the bonnet. But nobody stepping out of a normal family car will feel shortchanged back here. So it looks special, and it feels expensive to sit in. Now for the part that separates this RZ from the cheaper one below it. Under the floor sit two motors, one on each axle, driving all four wheels, through a system Lexus calls Direct 4. Total output is now 375 horsepower. That is around 65 more than the RZ this replaces, and Lexus quotes it at about 4.6 seconds to 100 kilometers an hour. That is properly quick for a calm luxury SUV. If you want the RZ that truly attacks a road, that is the sharper F Sport, with its steering yoke and firmer edge, and that is a different video for a different mood. This one is tuned to waft, not to thrill, and the first reviews keep reaching for the same word to describe it, which is soothing. Which brings us back to the two numbers that sank the first RZ. On a full battery, This one is now rated at about 460 kilometers, or 286 miles. That is a 16% jump over before. The charging is better as well. The home charging speed is doubled, so on the right wall box, a full battery now takes about 3.5 hours instead of most of a day. And plug into a strong public rapid charger, and it climbs from 10 to 80% in a little over half an hour. Both of those are a real, measurable step up. And here is the part I am not going to dress up. Better is not the same as best, and on both numbers, the RZ still trails the one rival it most needs to beat. Because now we have to talk about the money, and this is where it gets uncomfortable. Kitted out as this sports luxury, the RZ lands at $91,000 here in Australia, before a cent of on-road costs. A Tesla Model Y long range asks under $69,000, and on a full charge, that Tesla covers around 600 kilometers, close to 140 more than the Lexus, for roughly $22,000 less. On a spreadsheet, that is not a close contest. The Tesla is cheaper to buy, it charges faster, it travels further, and it is hardly ugly either. If your choice is made purely by the numbers, you already know whose key you are reaching for. It is not the one with the L on the bonnet. So how does the Lexus argue its way out of that? It argues it in every moment a spreadsheet cannot measure. It is the near silence at highway speed, the way the doors shut with a deep, expensive thunk, the dealer who treats you like a guest rather than a transaction. It is Lexus's long, almost boring reputation for building cars that refuse to break, and for holding their value years after a rival has quietly slid down the used listings. Reviewers who have driven it keep landing on the same idea. The Model Y wins the argument of the head. The RZ is playing a slower, quieter game. The one where you stop counting kilometers and start noticing how a thing makes you feel when you climb in. For plenty of buyers, that difference is worth nothing, and they should buy the Tesla with a clear conscience. For others, it slowly becomes worth everything, and there is one more honest truth. Underneath the tailored suit, the RZ still shares its bones with a cheaper Toyota, and one or two rivals ride a touch better. But a Lexus that keeps working and keeps its value is a real part of what the extra money buys. So here is where I land. If you want an RZ, this loaded sports luxury is the one I would actually buy. If you are paying the Lexus premium at all, you may as well get the version that serves the full dose of calm. Skip it if your head is honestly ruled by the range figure and the running costs, because then the Model Y will nag at you forever. So save your money and buy the Tesla. Before you sign anything, cross-shop it against that Model Y, and for something with a lot more theater inside, the Genesis GV60. Score the whole thing honestly, and it lands at 7.0 on the AUTO TV score. Marked down hard for range and value, lifted right back up by how lovely it is to live with. So, is a fully loaded RZ worth more than 90 grand when a Model Y undercuts it by that much? On paper, plainly no. In your driveway, on the days that scrape your nerves raw? Quite possibly yes. Lexus has stopped trying to win the numbers war. It has decided to win the calm one instead, and on its own narrow terms, it very nearly pulls it off. And if this is the shape of Lexus you want, but you need more room for the family, the story is about to get bigger. Sitting just above the RZ is an all-new larger electric Lexus called the TZ, and that one is on screen next.